Hey, one time they asked Paul George about the loss that he had just experienced in Miami to the Heat, and he told them, he said, if you look at the box score, we won this game tonight. What's up, y'all? It is March 25th, 2024. We are the Hoopstorians. I'm Tony Styles. That is Unique over
Yeah.
yonder, or that way, I guess he would be. Let's get into this day in NBA history. This day in NBA history, March 25th, 1973, the Philadelphia 76ers posted the worst mark in NBA history at 9-73. They split it between two coaches. Roy Rubin went 4-47. Kevin Lowry went 5-26. Do you think anybody's ever going to beat that mark? Do you think we're ever going to see some team only win 8 games through 82 or anything less? Or do you think that's a pretty solid mark?
I would hope nobody beats that record. That's horrible. Yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna stand. I think even the worst teams is gonna give us at least 10 games where they win. So, like I
Yeah, I
said, I
remember.
would hope.
Well, I was going to say, I remember 97, 98, the Nuggets just looked awful that year, and they still went like 11-71.
It's
So,
yeah, man. That's crazy to win one game out of what, 10? Or not even yeah, one game out of 10.
that's pretty much it. Not only that, you factor in what the Pistons, they have what, 12 wins currently? And they've just looked awful. Like, how do they ever win a game? So, I don't know. So, you think 9 wins is going to stand? Nobody will ever beat it?
I hope not. I hope not. I hope
Well,
we don't end up with teams that trash in the league
let's do it.
moving
Well,
forward.
that was this day in NBA history. So, what's up, Daniel Berry Sports Highlight? Hey
What up?
everyone, to everyone back. So I want to get into this. I'm seeing a lot of this. I saw an NBA 2K rating where they gave Kobe 100. He's the only player ever to get 100. So that means Kobe is by far the best, greatest player of all time. If we're doing off that, and also too, if we look at the way people, at least kids now coming up, they put so much emphasis on the 2K rating, on how good a player is, and that's what they base it off of. So it got me thinking. I think Kobe Bryant. Well, I mean, I know he is. Where they're placing Kobe now, he's overrated. Simple as that. Reggie's overrated too, where they're placing Reggie, and I think Allen Iverson's overrated. Does it mean I think Kobe's not a good player or anything like that? Not at all. I just think it's overrated if you have him as the highest rated player of all time. And so I know you're like a Kobe fan, an AI fan. I know you'd be the type of person to debate about this. Um, Let me ask you first off, where do you got Kobe all time? Where do you got Reggie all time? Where do you got AI all time?
Okay. Um, Kobe all time, he's one of those players that's going to be in my top 15 all time. Iverson is in my top, he's probably in my top 30 all time. Reggie, Reggie's probably on my top 75, but that's really about it.
See, but then I look at players like, for example, Dwight and like Pau Gasol. Reggie wasn't better than them. So I look at players like them, and Reggie wasn't better than them. So let's break it
Here's the
down. Let's go with Reggie. Okay. So I don't think Reggie's a top 75 player. I think Reggie is. I don't know where he's at. He's not top 75. I haven't ranked him all like that, but I don't think Reggie's top 75.
what is it that keeps Reggie out of the top 75 for you though?
Um, Kobe not
Y'all,
overrated.
whoa, 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 whoa. Who's y'all? You talking about anybody that's opposed to Kobe or him and I? Because I'm a Kobe fan. And he's not a Kobe hater. He just more so feels as though people rank Kobe higher than they should be ranking him. But it's not that he necessarily feels like Kobe is trash. He's not saying that. He's just saying Kobe is not as unflawed as people make him out to be.
Yeah, my point is this: Kobe is not. When I see people got him ranked second all time, first all time, third all time, top 5, top 10, and I got him at 11. And to be honest with you, if you got him in the lower 10, if you got him in the lower 10 range, 8 to 12, somewhere in there, I would go. I would go with that, but I just don't think he is a top 10 player. And not only that, do I not think he's a top 10 player? Everybody else that everybody else says is in the top 10, there's like numbers, stats, lines that can back it up, and there is none with Kobe. It's just, well, if you do this and you do that and you do, but anyway, but we'll get into this. But I want to, it says the sports arena as a whole. Well, to be honest with you, I don't even know what impact Kobe had like on the game like that. Like people don't play like Kobe. He didn't set the trend like Kobe, huh?
Me? So what I was gonna say is this: people don't play like Kobe because his game mirrors Mike's too much. Too not many people can really play like Mike. So it's like you have people who are Kobe fans, but they don't play anything like him. But then you can see in clutch moments, you can see where the Kobe influence comes out of them. Like a Kyrie. Kyrie plays nothing like Kobe, but Kyrie has like an animalistic like nature when he attacks, when he's on a court. Like when he goes on his offensive tears, that's when you see the Kobe influence. And I'm not saying it's just Kobe because obviously he put the work in to even become as good of a player as he is. But like even a Jason Tatum, you can kind of tell just by things that they've added to their game how they've been pulling and taking from Kobe, just little stuff like that. So I think it's a little harder to play like him. Like, for instance, I was a huge Iverson fan. I don't play like Iverson. You would think being an Iverson fan, that's who I look like on the court, but I don't. Like, you feel me? Sometimes you ain't got it in your bag, or you got to put more work in to look like them players. But to say that he doesn't have impact, I don't know if I can necessarily agree with that, or to say that he's not setting trends. I don't know if I can necessarily agree with that, just based off the fact that you do see players who clearly were influenced by him. Like even with the people that aren't in the league, you're seeing the kids like Dave Chappelle was saying. It turned into when we were growing up, it was like Mike. Everybody wanted to be like Mike. Once we get into the I don't even want to say the late 90s. Once we get into the 2000s, once we get into the 2000 era, everybody wants to play like Kobe. I don't think that was by accident. I don't think the league forced Kobe on us because remember, we still have the Shaqs, we still got the KGs, we still got the Tim Duncans and stuff like that. So why is Kobe standing out? He's standing out now. I'll give you this. He is standing out because he resembles Mike. But if we're considering Mike, and I'm not saying you are, but if the consensus is Mike is one of the greatest players ever, and we're seeing this person who's reminding us of Mike with the way he looks on the court, the way he moves on the court, how he plays both ends. I feel as though this is kind of influential. It's teaching guards to step it up. It's teaching small forwards to step it up. It's teaching them don't have an excuse. Oh, your shoulder hurts, when it shoot it with your left, or you feel me? Or you tore your Achilles, still shoot these free throws. So it's like he's showing players how to be tough. Um,
So with that, I mean, I'll go with that. Like I've always respected Kobe Bryant's toughness and his ability to work through pain and dedication and all that. But on some of the things you said, you were like, "Oh, I liked Kobe, but I didn't necessarily have it in my bag to replicate his skill work." But all these
mhm.
NBA players do have it in their bag, and obviously not all of them, but the top ones, and none of them play like Kobe. In the 2000s, like you said, because that's when we were teenagers, late 90s, early 2000s. Everybody was copying Iverson. Everybody started wearing the headband like Iverson. Everybody started walking the sleeve like Iverson. Everybody, so that's what I mean. Kobe's rap album was better, and we all talked about Iverson's album.
You,
Um, so that's what I mean. I'm not saying that Kobe isn't. Since I've been watching the NBA, I've been watching the NBA for over 30 years. Since I've been watching it, 4 players have stood out as far as like pop cultural icons more than anybody else, and that's Shaq, Kobe, LeBron, Jordan. No order; those are the top 4, and then Steph right now is number 5, 5th. So, and
okay.
I see more people playing like Steph and all that. So, as far as that, like his cultural impact. Now, see, this is something that I've never understood with Kobe fans. Okay, the hard work, the dedication of the game. Why so many players say Kobe gave them that gym to work on. And once again, and I love his dedication. I love his I love his dedication. I love his work ethic. The man was obsessed. It was a passion. He wanted to be the great. He said it. He wanted to be the greatest player of all time, and he worked for it. I'm not saying that, but here's what I mean. Just because he had that heart, but it didn't happen. That's my whole point. If let's say Kobe did 10 hours a day in the gym, right? Let's say I come along and I do 16 hours a day in the gym. Are we going to give me the ball over Kobe because I'm putting in more hours of work? No, that's ludicrous. I'm not as skilled as him. I'm not as talented as him. I don't have the physical advantages of him. It doesn't matter that I'm outworking. And that's what I mean. Kobe outworked a lot of players. He did. But some things he just had limitations and talents that he could not catch up. And that's been shown. And that is why he is not, and that's why he is just outside the top 10. And that's what I mean. And the main reason why is, to me, it is this. It is the shooting percentage that really keeps, that is the flawed out of that. Because if you look at all his players, all his constituents, Jordan, LeBron, Wade, I mean, even smaller players like Steph, who shoots way more threes than him, they can all hit 50%. They can all be efficient. So that means, so I'm going to ask you this. Do you think Kobe, he either didn't have the physical skill set to make half his shots, or do you think he didn't have the mental ability to stay away from bad shots? Either one is flawed, and that keeps him out of the top 10 for me, because his other parts of his games were not, like, for example, Bill Russell was not a good an elite scorer. Okay, he shot 44% for his career. However, though, he was one of the best rebounders of all times, and he made that up. He was also the best winner, and he made that up in those other areas. So Kobe, who is inefficient when it comes to shooting and things like that, he and on top of it, Kenny Smith said this once best. They were asking like the top 5 players in the league, and it was like Kobe, Shaq, Duncan, Garnett, Kidd. Somewhere those were the 5, right? And they're like Kobe, but Kobe was the only superstar that got to play one-on-one at that time. So Shaq was the one that got doubled. Kobe got to play one-on-one, and he still couldn't get to 50. He couldn't get to 49. He couldn't get to 48. He couldn't get to 47. And that is what keeps Kobe out of the top 10 for me. Because and if you look at his numbers, and then if you look at the efficiency, the defense, we'll get into that. But I'm just going to ask you, which one do you think it was? Either he didn't have the mental ability to stay away from bad shots, or he didn't have the physical ability to make half his shots.
I mean, why does it have to be one or the other?
What's
I
the
don't,
reason
I
for
don't,
what? Okay, well then, what is the reason keeping him when we
I don't.
see everybody else around his talent level, or at least out of 20 years, they can get 51 time, and he's the only one that can't.
So I will attribute it somewhat to a mentality, but I don't necessarily say it's he has a mentality that's forcing him to take bad shots. Well, in a sense, I guess that would be what it is, and here's why. Kobe, after Shaq left, Kobe had to go through this whole rebuild. And even while Shaq was there, he already felt as though a lot of the players on his team were not putting in the type of work that will make him trust them in clutch moments, that will make him trust them to lead teams or make, and with that trust, with them not actually showing him, hey, I'm here to play, I'm here to win. And he knows that he is, yeah, sometimes he's taking bad shots. He doesn't have, let's say you compare him to a Steph, he doesn't have as good of a jump shot or a 3-point shot as a Steph. So I get why Steph is shooting in volume and shooting in bulk, and he's got a higher percentage than Kobe. But at the same time, Steph wasn't always being guarded as much as Kobe. He is now, don't get me wrong. Like ever since Steph has made himself a household name and he's shown everybody that he's one of the great players in the league, yeah, they started doubling and tripling up on him then. But prior to that, Steph was able to get loose where Kobe, they found out a little earlier in his career that he's going to be a matchup issue. So once that happened, you combine the fact that he's getting double teamed and triple teamed every game, not every play, but every game. You combine that with the fact that he does not trust the people that's out there. So when you're throwing up shots, and to your point, I get the efficiency standpoint. I get what you're saying. He's not very efficient in that regard. But at the same time, if I'm knowing he's missing these shots because he's the number one option and he's shooting from 30 or he's shooting from 30, whatever, or shooting from 40, I have to take that into consideration. I'm not just going to be like, Kobe's a scrub or Kobe, he has a horrible jump shot. It's, yeah, Kobe rushes shots sometimes. You feel me? That's always been part of the argument with Kobe in his earlier years that he was not passing the ball. So I think he just didn't trust his team. I don't think it was necessarily that he didn't have the mental capacity to stay away from bad shots. I feel as though he felt like I have the green light. I'm the one that's supposed to be shooting.
So how could he feel like that and this is what I mean, like logically, I'm putting in more work, I should get more shots. The ball would have a better success with me logically, yeah, that's the case. But it seems like it was so logic, it was illogical, because then you look at like series like the Pistons, Shaq shooting almost 60%, Kobe shooting like 38%, and he's still shooting the ball way more than Shaq. So I'm saying once again, now I get it if he has nobody on his team, but when he
Mhm.
has one of the greatest players of all time, and this dude's shooting 60%, why are we still shooting the ball so much? Why are we shooting 38% when we have Shaq on our team and you're Kobe Bryant with that skill set? There's no reason why Kobe Bryant should be doing. I'll tell you what, Kobe Bryant in 2002, he shot 52% from the field in the finals and like 54% from three. It was only good shooting finals out of all of them. That should have been Kobe every year with Shaq. If they're focusing on Shaq and you have Kobe Bryant level skill set, why are you playing so poorly? That's what I don't get in that regard.
So to that, I think that can be attributed to a few things. Like for one, I think that was a maturity thing. I think at least with Shaq, when we're talking Shaq and Kobe, I
Mhm.
think part of it had to do with maturity, immaturity, whichever way you want to look at that. Him and Shaq having issues where he's feeling like for you to be who you are, and granted, I get what you're saying as far as Shaq being a 60%, field goal shooter and everything like that. Although Shaq's not taking as tough shots as Kobe, but as far as the argument of efficiency, yeah, he's definitely going to be more efficient. Like he's a much dominant physical player than Kobe. Like you feel me? It's
Mhm.
very difficult to guard Shaq. It's very difficult to get in front of him or keep him out of the lane. Whereas Kobe, Kobe is pretty much average height for an NBA player. Shaq is abnormal anywhere he goes. So it's gonna be a little different as far as stopping him. Even the positions. You feel me? Kobe, he's a ball dominant. He has a ball dominant position. Um, and not to say that a center or a power can't, but for the style of play that they were using, yeah, it made more sense because the ball is in Kobe's hands more. Um, with him, like I said, having issues with Shaq, having issues with his work ethic and things like that, Kobe was feeling like, no, you're going to have to deserve the ball. You're going to have to earn the ball. I get how that could have put the team at a detriment, but when you have a Shaq to play with, you can make them kind of, you can make them kind of calls. I more so think it was immaturity though. I think it was the fact that at that point in time he was so young because we're still talking about like a what 22-year-old Kobe, 21-year-old Kobe at the
Well, I
time.
mean, I mean, well, that Pistons series, he was a few months shy of 26,
Okay. Oh, the
and been in the
Pistons. Yeah,
league
yeah,
for
the
8 years.
Pistons. You did
Yeah,
say
we've
that.
been in the league for 8 years.
Okay, you did say the Pistons. I mean, even that though. I mean, not to make an excuse. I'm just more so putting my mind in a 26-year-old. You feel me? In their shoes, they're not very mature yet. You feel me? I mean, playing basketball can mature you, especially when you're one of the go-tos where you're number one or number two. I get it, but at the same time, just because you're the star, you feel me, doesn't mean you're mature. You feel me? You
Hmm.
don't mature at the same rate that you rise in the ranks. Kobe rose in the ranks. Once he rose in the ranks, of course they're in his ear talking about this is your team, this is going to be your team, this and that. And he's probably feeding into it a little bit. That's why I was saying part of it had to do with maturity. So when you say could it have been a mental thing? I think it could have been a mental thing, but I think it was more mental immaturity than anything else. I don't think it was just that Kobe couldn't shoot 50%. I think Kobe put himself in positions where it forced him outside of that. Like for instance, Kobe was he was a let me check his free throw stats. Yeah, see, his mid range would have been straight. Kobe, he's pretty much an 80% free throw shooter his whole career.
He
All he
is.
had to do was stay within just stay within that distance, and we're going to see a more efficient shooter. We're going to see more effectiveness with his shot. But what does Kobe do? Kobe's swinging threes. You feel me? Kobe is he's trying to win it by every mean possible. And I know to you, it seems like he wasn't because he wasn't necessarily willing to pass to a Shaq or something like that. But I still feel as though that had to do with him being a little immature at that point in time because once he ended up without Shaq on the team, once he had to actually get a Pau Gasol, once we see him with it's like the likes of like Bynum and Ron Artest and Ariza, we're seeing him dish the ball to them. So
A couple things on this. One, I see this comment a lot. League average compared to other shooting guards, he was way more efficient. I get this a lot. That they always say Kobe was right around average, right below average, things like that. I want to know is how is that a claim? So you're telling me that his claim to greatness is that he's average?
no. See,
I'm saying on the no. Listen though, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about league average compared to other shooting guards. They always talk about Kobe's shooting guard percentage, and they say that he was shooting right around league average. That's for the Kobe fans. That's one of the ways they debunk that Kobe wasn't like not a good shooter. It's like, well, he was shooting right around average. So my point is that's crazy to me. So you guys to show me how he's arguably the greatest player of all time, you show me how he's average. That's
I
what's
don't think
crazy to me on that, huh?
I don't think that's the argument though. I don't think that's what they're arguing. When they're arguing that he was shooting average, what they're basically saying is his jump shot wasn't that horrible. The reason why they're still arguing for his greatness, even though his jump shot is an average percentage, is the fact that, like I said, we're aware why Kobe's missing some of the shots he's missing. He's out there playing hurt. He's out there taking shots on multiple defenders. He's shooting shots that are way beyond um way outside of what his range would be. And I'm not saying Kobe didn't have range. I'm saying we're seeing a drop in his threes. You feel me? When he steps outside the key, we're seeing a drop when he steps a little bit outside the free throw line. So for that, what I'm saying is we can see what attributed to Kobe's percentages dropping or percentages being what they are. However, here's what separates him from the other average shooters. Even with his percentage being what it was, people still feared Kobe in clutch moments. And to me, that's what stands out. The fact that whether he's having an off game or not, Kobe's still gonna shoot it. And when Kobe is shooting, whether he's went 0 for 7, 0 for 9, 0 for whatever, when he's shooting with the game on a line, it still causes you to hold your breath. And it's like if he was that terrible of a shooter, if he was that ineffective, I don't think it would have that effect on people. The fact that once Kobe has the ball in his hand, you can't really count the Lakers out.
So,
I
well, hold on.
mean,
My question's on this though, and and I want to ask the chat this as well. People watching this, other than let's see, the game winner in '06, where he did the whoa and then lost the 3-1 lead against the Suns, and then he hit another game winner against the Suns in 2000. Other than that, what was his game winners in the playoffs?
in the playoffs,
Yeah, because he shot like 18% in game winners in the playoffs.
yeah, off the top of my head, I had to think about that. Playoffs.
Yeah, and I'm asking the chat too. I mean, is there do they have them? Because those are the only one that I can think. Just those two. So where are all these memories? I also want to say this. So check this out. Kobe had to score and the best defender on the team. Well, here's something that's crazy about Kobe, just to let you know something about Kobe. So he played 20 years, right? 12 of those 20 years, he was a negative on the defensive box plus minus score. In 12 out of his 20 years, being the great defender that he is. In '01, he made the second team defensive team negative. '07, he made the first team negative. 11 made the first team negative. 12 made the second team a negative. So that's what I'm saying. Like I get the Kobe perception and all that, but I'm saying none of the numbers back up this claim of him being a top 10 player. And that's what I mean when they say this. Then another thing that's always crazy to me is this. Okay, so hold on. Here we go. Ready? Kobe had 7 games winner in 09-10 season, bro. Playoff winners. I want the playoff game winners. Those are the
Yeah,
ones that really
that's what
count.
I'm trying to find. I'm trying
All
to
right,
find a player.
that's the one that count. I can only think of 2. I think of game 2 in 2000 against the Suns, and I think of game 4 in '06 against the Suns. But if he had more playoffs, Winder, so here's a Kobe wasn't a great defender. Kobe was a good defender in certain seasons. His '03 season, I think, was his best defensive season. So yeah, I think he was a great defender in certain seasons. I think his defense is severely overhyped, though, of what he was.
It's really overhyped.
Well, I'll put it this way:
Defending
if
who?
I'm saying if you're making first team All NBA defensive teams and you're a negative on that floor, on that end of the floor, I think, yeah, then I think your defense is overrated.
Um,
You have like here. I'll put it this way: how many blocks do you think Kobe should get in a season? Being how Kobe is,
how many blocks he should get in a season?
right?
I don't know, maybe 80 something.
Yeah, around a block a game. Okay, and I would even say at least a half. That 2011 season where he made first team All NBA, he played. What did he play? Played 82 games. He got 12 blocks.
Okay.
Now, I mean, I don't know how he doesn't just wake up and get 40 or 50 blocks. Why does game winners matter if they won the game? Game
Uh,
winners matter because we're talking about how clutch Kobe is in the playoffs and how people fear him. But if he's not hitting any game winners really in the playoffs, I don't know
question.
why they're fearing him. That's what I mean by perception versus reality. The perception is it's going in, but the reality is he shoots like 18% on game winners.
So I did find others. It looks like there's only 5 listed. I see in '08 conference finals game 1 against the Spurs. It's showing
Okay.
that 24 seconds left. He won the game against Bruce Bowen.
Okay.
Um, let's see. In 2000, the
Suns.
yeah, 2000. You're already aware of that. 2002 conference semifinals against the Spurs, game 4.
Okay.
Let's see what happened. It says Bryant Dan Skies for the offensive rebound and lays in the game winner with 5.1 seconds left on the clock. And that's how they ended up going up 3-1. Did you mention the Pistons in '04?
No, because he didn't hit a game winner. He hit a shot to send it to overtime, but not win it.
Let's see. Are you talking about game 2?
Yes.
Okay, so that one doesn't count. And then 2006 versus Suns. That's the other one you mentioned.
Hold on. Yeah. Hey, so my question for you this is Josh, if Kobe is clutch, why does he only shoot 18% in the clutch? And I could have that
Because in
number
the
wrong.
wild,
Huh?
you asking me or Josh?
No, I'm asking Josh. I mean, I can ask you. I mean, why is his game winner so terrible?
Because we be seeing Kobe throw it because Kobe doesn't have a conscience. Kobe doesn't care if he miss. I don't want to say he doesn't care if he misses or makes it because he's obviously shooting because he wants to make it. But Kobe isn't so concerned with his percentage as he is with winning. Kobe feels as though I have a better chance, even with these 3-4 dudes on me. I have a better chance of making this shot. I know that sounds crazy to you, but that's his mentality. He's thinking, you know what? I trust me because it's like this. If you feel as though you're capable of something, if you feel as though you're capable of winning a game and you pass the ball to somebody else and they end up losing or they end up missing, you're never
Mhm.
going to live that down. You're never going to be able to sleep right after that. I think for Kobe, it was easier for him to sleep at night if he was the one that cost them the game versus somebody else. Because if he trusted somebody else, he'd be like, "This is why I don't trust y'all." Whereas if he trusted himself, it's like, "Well, I at least put the work in to feel confident in that shot." It goes back to the Clay and Steph thing. What's a
But but
bad shot for Steph?
but once again, so like I got these numbers right here. He was 7 for 27, 25.9% on game tying or go ahead field goals in the final 24 seconds. So 25. So what does it matter that you're putting in the work if you're only giving us 25%? Let's go to someone else who's not putting in the work that's giving us a higher percentage. Because isn't that's what matters ultimately? What if you put in the work? What if you put in more work than me and you lose every game? Should we continue to go to you if you're putting in the work but we're losing?
It
Or if I put in
depends.
no work and a win? Huh?
It depends. It depends. Am I the franchise? Am I the one that y'all done spent all of this money on? Am I the one that you built the team around? Because if you're the person that they built the team around, the one that they're giving all the money to, the one that's selling the seats, yeah, you're the one that they want to see shoot the ball, especially when you're capable. It'd be different if you're not a capable shooter, but when you're capable of scoring, when you're capable of going clutch, when you're capable of not just winning games, but winning series and being that star player, yeah, you're going to get some leeway.
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is okay, so if you're the franchise like Shaq and you're the franchise like Kobe, should we go to you even though it's failing us more than go to the other franchise?
Here's the thing about should and what happens. Should we? Probably not because it's a team game, but we see it time and time again. The ball doesn't always go to the open player. The ball doesn't always go to the best shooter. Typically, the ball goes to the star, and they figure out what to do with it. Kobe, once he got the ball, it was up. He got the ball, and that he figured out I'm gonna be the one to score.
No,
Like I
no, no,
said, it
and I
didn't
agree with
always
that.
work out that way.
And I agree with that. And all I'm trying to say though is once again, it goes back with this. When you think of Kobe, you think of scoring. I know people are going to bring up his defense, but they've never ever brought up the time Kobe Bryant had 8 steals in a game or 9 or whatever his career high is. They always bring up the 81 point. Do they
However,
not?
however,
How
however, everybody has seen Kobe. I know you were saying, he didn't get that many blocks, but Kobe, when you're going up against Kobe and you get blocked, you don't forget that. So us as fans, we may forget that, but there's a reason why he gets the respect that he gets as far as defensively. Like let's talk Kobe's a guard. You feel me? He's a guard, small forward. Kobe was pretty much locking them guards down. No guard wanted to have Kobe defending him. So it's like to be like, well, his numbers don't match. Yeah, but these guards also didn't want to go up against him.
and
It
that's why
wasn't
and
like,
that's why right, but I'm not saying that and that's why he's like number 11th all time. Like, I'm not saying Kobe's terrible at defense. I'm saying that his defense is he's like an 11th all-time player, and his
mhm,
defense is not that all-time elite defense. It's a step below.
okay,
He's not a Hakeem
okay,
defender. He's not a Jordan
okay,
defender. He's a level below defender. You know what I mean?
okay,
Which is why he wasn't getting that's why he wasn't getting defensive players of the years. He didn't have that on-ball D like Gary Payton and things like that. Not to say he wasn't a good defender. He was an excellent defender. But that's why he is not. I'll put it this way: when everybody's like, he's got 9 all defensive team. Well, 5 players get that every year. So he's one of 5 players every year. He's not one of one. He's one of 5. And when you start putting all these
mhm,
stats with Kobe, it's like he's the only
mhm,
he's the all-time leader in guards and assists. Well,
mhm,
but like John Stockton's just the all-time leader, period, and Jordan's just the
mhm,
all-time leading scorer, period, in
mhm.
in points per game, and LeBron's the all-time leader, period, in scoring. And that's what I'm saying. Kobe's got all these secondary. Well, he's the leading in this for guards, and he's leading this and that, but he's never the leader. He's always something below, and that's why he's
Mhm.
outside of the top 10. And and
Fair
and
enough.
I agree with that. So I'm just saying, where are these numbers where we get him into the top 10? You think of Kobe, you think of scoring. He failed at that every year. 20 years. He's got all these better scoring, but none of the
How
numbers. Him and LeBron have the exact same amount of seasons over 30 a game.
question? You said he
Mm.
failed in scoring. What do you mean by that? What do you mean he failed in scoring?
He missed more shots than he made. He failed
That's a
more than
failure.
he if it's every year, if supposedly you're one of the greatest scorers ever, how are you one of the greatest scorers and you never once succeeded at that more than you failed? That's crazy to me.
It's honestly, it sounds crazy though to even suggest that Kobe failed at scoring when look at how many points he scored over his whole career.
Yeah, I know, 33,643.
So with 33,000 points scored over a career, I don't know how you would suggest that that's a failure.
Well, every time you
When
shoot the ball, every time they shoot the ball, if it goes in, the shot's a success, and if you miss, it's a fail. More shots clanked than went in.
right, but at the same time, when you're in the top 5 for points scored ever in the NBA, I don't care how many shots you miss. I can't consider that a failure because you can go out and shoot 30 shots a night and still not make it in the top 5.
You can, but actually, let's look this up. Because if I had to guess, though, I would guess all the top field goal attempt shooters are all in the
Mhm.
top scorers. But yeah, theoretically you can, but that's just not the case. I don't think that really happens. So field goal attempted. Let's see who we got. So the top 5 in field goals attempted are LeBron, Kareem, Karl Malone, Kobe, and Mike. The top 5.
Oh, okay.
So you kind of
All
tend to
better
end up where
percentages.
right. And what's crazy is I think LeBron's catching up, but nobody's missed more than Kobe. That's where Kobe's the all-time record holder in missed shots. So that's where it comes in. I'm just saying that, you know what I mean? If you are such an elite scorer and you are really the second greatest of all time, how are you the second greatest of all time when we consider you a scorer and you never once hit half your shots? If that's what you do so well and you never once did it where it's average, where it's you make as many as you miss, I don't know how you're the second greatest, the third greatest, the first greatest.
Here's the thing: Kobe's an elite scorer because of how many different ways he could score. You feel me? He he may not have the best 3-point shot, but at the same time, he's fully capable of making it. You feel me? He's dunking on large centers. You feel me? Kobe is pretty much posterizing most people that steps in front of him, especially young Kobe. So the reason why he's considered an elite offensive player is not necessarily based on or just based on his percentages. Some of it has to do with people seeing him go on crazy tears. Some of it has to do with the way he's scoring, the fact that he's scoring on multiple defenders, whether it be a layup. Kobe can score above the rim, under the rim. He can score outside the paint. He can score outside the key. So I think it's reasons like that. It's like even though you're not looking at it like he's 50% anywhere, you still feel as though he's 50%. So I think that's kind of why. And I get you're on the perception versus
Because what if I feel
perception.
like I'm better than him? Like you said, it feels like he's hitting 50, but what is that? What if I feel like I'm better than him? Should we roll
Okay.
with that?
Well, here's the thing though. Kobe has other accolades, so it isn't just people feeling as though Kobe's clutch or people feeling as though Kobe's effective. People are watching Kobe win. We're watching him win scoring titles. We're watching him win championships. We're watching him win an MVP. We're watching him even win MVPs against All Stars.
How does
These
any of that
things,
make him? How does any of that make him a top 3 player? I'm not saying any of that. I'm not saying he's not great. He's great. We watched him do all that. Like, for example,
well, I
flawed
didn't.
take. Hold on. These Kobe had tried everything. Line up your favorite player against Bean, and Bean's going to bust that ass. Okay, cool. I line up my favorite player. But if I line up my favorite team, will he bust their ass? Because basketball's a 5-on-5 game. Kobe was a much better 1-on-1 player than he was a 5-on-5 player. So I agree with that. Okay. But what does that have to do with anything? Is he going to bust my all time favorite team's ass?
No, no one man is gonna do that.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying. That's a flawed
Unless
argument because he's great 1-on-1. Well, the game's 5-on-5, and LeBron is a better 5-on-5 player. That's why LeBron is higher than Kobe because LeBron plays 5-on-5 ball better than Kobe does.
Well, let me ask you
And I don't know
this.
how you could
Speaking of
say
LeBron,
that otherwise.
let me ask you this. So, speaking of LeBron, I just realized what time it is. Speaking of LeBron, let me ask you this: is LeBron one of the all-time greats?
Yeah.
It's rhetorical, but yeah, okay. So, the opinion of the all-time greats, does that not factor in? Does that not matter at all? Because
What
these
do you mean?
people played against him. So, when you're asking questions like what makes Kobe so great, and where you're asking questions like how are we putting him in the ranks of the top 10 and stuff like that. When we have other players who are top 10 saying Kobe's top 10, does that not hold any weight at all?
No, because you remember when we had the coach on and they said that they all have egos and it works easy for them and all that. They're not able to assess talent like that. That's why most of
Not
the
even the
all-time
people,
great. Well, okay,
not
then
even the
why did
people guarding him.
Well, yeah, like for example, Michael Jordan. Why couldn't he assess talent when he decided to go with Kwame Brown? Why was Magic Johnson 5-11 as the head coach? If he's so great. Why why are there all kinds of examples of all Bill Russell wasn't a very good coach when he quit playing. I mean, he won titles when he played. Why couldn't he win titles when
Mhm.
he wasn't playing?
Okay. So my thing is this though. I get the point that you're making where when you're extremely talented, sometimes it's hard for you to assess talent, but I don't feel as though that applies when you're playing against players. You feel me? You know what a good player is. You know what a good player is because if you become a good player, you know what it takes to be one. So you can identify it. Killers recognize other killers. So what I'm saying is when you got a LeBron that's saying Kobe's one of the greatest ever, when you have a T-Mac saying Kobe's one of the greatest ever, Shaq saying he's one of the greatest ever, it's kind of hard to discredit these people because not only did they watch, but they played against him and they're great in their own right. So I feel as though they may know a little something. You feel me? They eye test is a little better than, just a regular fan. And they may not know all the numbers or the stats, or maybe they do. Maybe they know them better than anyone else. What I'm more so saying is there's a reason why these people are giving him his credit. And I think it has to do with the things that he's doing that you don't really like. You feel me? You're not liking all of these shots that he's taking, but they're looking at him like, yo, that heart is something that's amazing.
But see, that
And
heart, if we mixed it in with efficiency, he'd have 8 rings. He'd have 10 rings. That's my whole point. You don't have to lose efficiency just because you have heart. You could still play the smart way. You could still play better. And as far as that goes, as we go with players that are ranking him and all that, top 10 and all that, that played against, well, they haven't played against everybody. So how would they really know who the top 10 is, if that's your argument? If they can only, then they can only rank the top 10 they played against. And then if we're doing position basketball, they played even against fewer players.
yeah, but you got to remember the people that I named, like a Shaq. Shaq is one of those players who's always team old school. You feel me? Now, could there be some bias for Kobe based on his team old school? Possibly, but I don't necessarily think so, because Shaq went out and said that him and Kobe were the best duo ever. So I don't think he's just, just looking at it like, let me just give Kobe some love.
Or here's a good one. Bron wanted Russell Westbrook to go to LA, and that was terrible for him. And he'd been playing against him. He'd been seeing it. He'd been seeing the heart. Everybody compares Westbrook to Kobe. He compares the heart. He compares all that. Why didn't that work?
I don't know. I think it's more of a coaching thing. I think it's more of the style that they're playing with. I don't even see Russ even getting that many minutes when he was playing with LeBron. So
I mean, he was
things
starting.
like, but he still wasn't really out there like that. You feel me? You're used to Russell Westbrook, being a number 2 or number 3 option. And when he was playing within that roster, they weren't really utilizing him the way that they could have or should have. I think they had too much talent at the time. I think they just had too many players where they didn't really know what to do with them.
Well, I mean, I don't know, man. His first year there, he was getting 34 minutes a game, which is what he was getting in his MVP season. He was still getting 16 shots a game. It was just goes with the same thing. It's an ego thing. It's an ego thing. Not only that, if you're McGrady, and you're losing against guys like Kobe, isn't it better to lose against one of the greatest? Would that be like, I don't think Kobe's very good either. Didn't you lose against him? Yeah, I lost against him and he wasn't very good. Why does it look good for McGrady? Now, if he says he's the best ever and that's who he's losing against, that's a different level there too. So, and I'm not saying that Kobe's great. I think Kobe's the 11th greatest player of all time. I'm just saying there's no numbers to back it up. And there's all these different flawed areas. We watched him just get killed in the playoffs. Like, I forget the numbers exactly, but it's something like this. Mike, when he loses in the playoffs, he loses by 10 a game. LeBron loses by like 11 a game. Kobe loses by 19 a game. Why is Kobe always getting blown out? Why is Kobe always getting swept? Why is Kobe always losing in 5? Why did Kobe have 4 All-Stars on his team and got swept by the Jazz? Just things like that. And I get it was young Kobe and all that, but Kobe said he was ready at that point. And that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that Kobe's not great. Kobe's awesome. Kobe is an awesome player. He's one of the greatest of all time. He's just not top 2. He's not top 3. He's not top 1. He's not top 10. And to be honest with you, so it depends why these players say it. So if I hear what players say it, and if the ranking makes sense, then yeah, I'll go with their ranking. But if they're like, I got Kobe as number 1, well, why? Because he scored 30,000. Well, other people scored 30,000, but not like Kobe did. He did it with more flair and pizzazz. Those are the type of answers I hear. That's not quantifiable. So he did one more pizzazz, but people won more rings, won more titles, won more championship, won more MVPs, scored more points, had a higher percentage, got to more All-Star games, just everything.
Yeah, see. Well, let me see what one of these players had to say about Kobe.
Pull him up.
In today's game, I would have to go with Kobe Jellybean Bryant.
Myself and him were still the greatest little man, big man, 1-2 punch ever created in the history of the game. And, hopefully we can get a couple of a glimpse of what we used to do, but it's going to be fun.
Best clutch.
How he goes at basketball and, his preparation, dedication to the game is, it's something that's unique. Kids think that he's Kobe Bryant, he's just as good as he is because of him just knowing how to play. They don't know before the product touches the store. It's a lot of things that has to go into that. It's something that people when they look at him play, it's like, oh, I can do that. Nah, you can't do that. You know, he's the only person on this earth that can do what he's doing on the basketball court. He defends and plays offense. Who does that? He guards, he defends, he stops people. You know, and
Be one of the best players in our league.
Okay. So Steph kind of somewhat answered the question as far as why other players don't play like him. They can't. But it's simply they can't. Yeah, I want to do it. You can't.
Can't.
So I guess with that, that's based more on an eye test. Them playing against him, than watching what he was doing.
But here, let me ask you this. Okay, so you have Shaq on there. You said, why do other players? Shaq goes, me and Kobe are the greatest 1-2 combo of all time. How? Magic and Kareem won more titles than them. You want to say Magic was the size of a center? Cool. Kuzi and Russell won more titles than them. So how is he the best? How are they the greatest?
Because I think what Shaq is saying is he feels as though that duel would have dominated other duels. I'm not saying that I necessarily agree, but I think in Shaq's mind, he's saying that because he's feeling as though him and Kobe playing 2-on-2 is going to beat everybody else.
See, and once again, once again, that's a silly point. We're talking about NBA basketball. It's 5-on-5. Don't care about 2-on-2. What does that have to do with the game? We're not going to go out there now. We're going to put you two against other two and all that. That's what I mean. We argue different points to elevate Kobe's greatness. Tell me how great he is in 5-on-5. That's what I mean. Not will he bust my team's ass. Not will he bust them 1-on-1. Not will he do 2-on-2. 5-on-5 against the other greats.
Well, in 5-on-5, he won 2 titles. He won an MVP, scoring champ. That's good.
And it is, and that's 11th all time. It's hard to be a one-time MVP and crack the top 10 of greatest players of all time.
11th all time, though, is crazy to say it's overrated, though.
I'm not saying it's overrated. I'm saying it's properly rated. I got all these other people. Like I said, I'm saying overrated when you got them as the first, the second, the third. So third, that's what I'm saying. Like I said, even if you got them in the lower top 10s, I can at least understand why you think that's the case. But yeah, I don't get that. Just for example, Suns fan, what's your top 10 all time? So I have a rotating 5. I don't think you can really say there's a specific GOAT, but it would be, let's see, any one of these 5 have an argument for the GOAT. LeBron, Jordan, Kareem, Russell, Wilt, and those are in no order. Then you got guys like Magic, Duncan, Shaq, Bird, Hakeem.
I mean, this sounds pretty similar. I was writing down what you were saying to see if there's anybody that
You're right. So I said it is hard for a one-time MVP, but Shaq was arguably the best player in the league for about 6 years. He did make it, but he has other factors. So he was the best player on a 3-peat. He's got 3 finals MVPs. He's got 4 MVPs, and he's arguably the most dominant player in the league. So that's why he cracks the list at 8th. And his peak was insane. You know what I mean? There was just no stopping him. So let's get into somewhere else. So we pretty much did all this Kobe and all that.
Dang, that's all right. Let's get to Iverson then.
Let's get to
or
Iverson.
You want to go to Reggie?
No, we can go to Iverson first. I think Iverson is somewhere in the 40s all time.
Okay. So he's in the top 50. Okay.
Yeah.
So what is your issue with Iverson then?
My issue with Iverson is people putting so much emphasis on one playoff run. Like, it wasn't even a dominating playoff run. They won I think they won 3-1 the first round, then they won 4-3, 4-3. People are saying that the conference finals was fixed, the free throw disparity. They got absolutely trounced in the finals. Allen Iverson played extremely inefficient. He shot 38% in his prime. I just don't think people, but once again, it's one of those arguments again, like his heart. Yeah, but it didn't work. He missed 62% of his shots. It didn't work. That's great that he kept going in there. And I like Allen Iverson. And but the version of him in Memphis in 09-10, where he was coming off the bench shooting 57%, that would be the Iverson in this league now if he wants to play. It's not the 28 shot a game shooting 38% Iverson. That just wouldn't fly. Do you
So
disagree?
somewhat. Here's why. I feel as though, and obviously this is speculation. I feel as though for the type of player that Iverson is, if he was still in the league, it would have forced him, especially with he spreading out the way it was as far as the spacing on the floor and the passing and the shooting and everything like that. I feel as though Iverson would have started working more on his 3-point shot. Um, I feel as though, how do I say this? It's hard to say that Iverson was ineffective because we're watching the small collection of talent that he had with Philly, where he's constantly in the top 10 for scoring. Um, he's keeping that team within like playoff runs, and I'm not even talking about where they went to the finals. I'm more so talking about the fact that he's making it to the playoffs year by year, and he is the force that is driving his team. It's not like he has much of another option. It's really him with the battery in his back, and he's willing these teams. He's willing this collection of talent. He's giving you, and even in the playoffs, he's giving you almost 30. He's giving you 29.7 in the playoffs points per game. And on top of that, I mean, he's only giving you 2 assists. I mean, it's 2 assists. He's only giving 6 assists, but it's mainly because of the fact that it wasn't many people on that team that Iverson could depend on to score, and he didn't complain about it. He didn't, you don't ever hear him talking about his talent. Iverson is just like, no, these is NBA players. We went out and we did what we did. But then when you're hearing from the other people that were in the league at the time and people that are playing them, they're like, that collection wasn't the one to win with. Like the fact that he was even able to go as far as he went is amazing to a lot of them. Um,
But then my
I
question
mean,
for is this. Well, hold on. My question is this. Okay, so that's cool. And I think he had more talent than what we like to make him believe in Philly. But let's just go with Denver. He had
mhm.
J.R. Smith. He had Steve Blake. He had Marcus Camby. He had Nene. He had Kenyon Martin. He had Carmelo. He had all kinds of talents with Denver. Couldn't do anything with Denver either.
Well, I've actually heard J.R. Smith talk about this as far as what was going on in Denver. They were on some personal accomplishment stuff. That's what was going on. They weren't playing team ball. Everybody was out there just doing what they needed to as far as their contracts go, doing what they needed to for personal accolades. Everybody was thinking about what happens after this team versus what do we do as a unit now. So that had a lot to do with it. Like they just really weren't playing for the organization. They were all playing for themselves. JR, he even admitted he thought it was cool for him to just go in there and just give 10. It was like, well, I gave my 10. What y'all gonna do? And it's just like, why would you stop there?
No, so I want to say this. What did I see with my? I'm not saying AI wasn't a phenomenon. He was a phenomenon. All I'm saying is if you wanted to build a winning brand of basketball with AI, it was. I watched the arenas go crazy, and I watched AI miss the playoffs and lose in the first round more than he advanced. He only won a first round series 4 times. 4 out of his 14 years in the league. So I watched him.
Bro.
What's up?
No, go ahead. My bad. My bad.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying AI wasn't a phenomenon. I'm just saying if we're talking about building basketball players to win games, AI wasn't the case. AI was an extreme talent, and I'm not saying he wasn't a good player. And he was such an extreme talent when he was at his peak, he was able to win some series because of it. Also because the East was weak as well. Um, so he was able to will and win it, but we saw that that was the exception and not the rule. And pretty soon after a couple years, he couldn't win anymore because the rule was you cannot shoot 38% in your prime and win basketball games. The arenas went
You think
crazy, huh?
you think that was the rule? You think that's why? It ain't got nothing to do with the talent around him. And it got nothing to do with all of the outside things that was going on in his life and going on in the league. None of that was a factor. It's just he just wasn't effective, or no, not effective. He just wasn't efficient.
That is correct. You are not going to win if you're shooting 28 times a game, shooting 38%. That is not the map to win. That
I
is not the
mean,
map to win.
he's had winning seasons though. he may not have had seasons where obviously he didn't win no chip, but he's had plenty of winning seasons.
And
So
that's what I'm saying. And I'm saying that to win in the playoffs, and that's what we count, what really matters, you got to shoot better than 38%. And he only had like one dominate winning season, and that was the year they went to the finals. That's the only one he won 55 plus. Normally, he's winning around 48 games, 47. He's not whipping off 60 win seasons. And he's doing it in a weak conference.
It's hard to say. Even with the conference itself, the teams that he had to go up against weren't necessarily weak. Like he had to go up against people like the Toronto team. That Toronto team
Vince
wasn't
Carter, who was
weak.
there? Who was their talent?
I mean, they still had T-Mac and Vince Carter.
They didn't have Tracy McGrady that series.
Huh?
They didn't have Tracy McGrady that series. I mean, I can tell you who they had. They had Antonio Davis, Mark Jackson. Those were the players they had. They had talent level about the same as Iverson's.
All right. And then there's the Indiana team that he had to get past. What other teams did he have to go up against? Jersey. That was a
They
deep team.
lost against Jersey.
I'm more so saying he's going up against talent. You were saying I'm more so going with the East wasn't as weak as you're making it sound. That's more so where I was going. It wasn't even about winning. It was more so the East wasn't that weak. The West was stronger at that point in time, but like I was saying, Iverson did have to go up against the best in the East. It wasn't like he was just going up against the weakest. Even against the Bucks, he's going up against all them shooters.
So I know somebody who dominated a weak conference with the super team that y'all stay praising. If you're talking about LeBron, he won the titles. So you can dominate a weak conference as long as you win the title. Then there's nothing you can really say because he beat whoever was dominating the Western Conference, right? So that would be that point. So I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is he got out of the first round in 99, 2000, 2001, 02 he didn't, and then 03 he did. And that was it. 4 times. And all that. I'm just saying he's a top 40-something player. That's all I mean. Not to say that maybe if he played the game different, maybe if he played it now, maybe if he understood efficiency more and all that. I'll put it this way. What's up?
No, I was just gonna say, I think it's more so you don't like his style of play, and I think that's kind of why your eyes are telling you something different than what a lot of.
I like his style of play. I just don't like all the times that the ball doesn't go in the hoop. I wish he'd dribble it. I wish, dude, to be honest with you, I wish he would dribble it 87 times, throw the ball off their head, rub their dick over their forehead, dunk it on them, and then put his ass on their head as he goes off. He can have any time. All I care about is if the ball goes in. It has nothing to do with it. It's that the ball goes out of the hoop 60% of the time.
Man, weak.
That's all I'm saying.
Let me real quick.
Go for it.
No, I was just gonna say real quick. I just wanna play this clip. See what T-Mac has to say about Iverson. Hold up.
So he had to guard this guy, and it was one game where he was killing us in Philly. He was killing like our guards, and Doc gave me that look like, it's your assignment now. The dude never stops running, so I gotta score and I gotta slow him down. I was so tired after the game. I was the last one in the shower, just like soaking and trying to figure out why am I so tired from guarding and chasing this dude all over the court. But he was a joy to compete against.
Stuff like that. It's like he's leaving these kind of impressions on the players that he played against. And when they go out and they tell stories about Iverson, you got people like Gilbert Arenas who's talking about how Iverson is at the club the night before. They wild and they getting drunk to the point he's getting carried out the club, and then he come back the next day and drop 40 on him.
But then Gilbert Arenas also the guy at rookie camp in front of the league talking about he wants to be a pimp when he grows up and bringing guns in the locker room. So I mean, Gilbert Arenas doesn't make the best soundest decisions now, does he?
First of all, what young basketball player don't think he a pimp? Let's start there.
First off, what young basketball player who's making millions of dollars want to be a pimp? You've already made it. You pimp for money. You don't pimp just for pimping.
Maybe it was
everybody knew that. Everybody knew that by now. I don't know, man.
Oh,
We out of
we.
time. We're gonna have to get to Reggie
Oh
later.
man. All right.
We are gonna have to get
Well,
to Reggie later, but we are out of time. I appreciate y'all that were watching. Please like, subscribe. We will be back tomorrow. Until then, take care. We are dropping dimes like Dara.